Hey, Harry, do you realize that it has in fact been 10 years since you've been behind the wheel of one of these things?
If I break it, they can take it out of my pay.
You're listening to the podcast, So There I Was. This is episode 16, True Lies. Fig, we had some movie stars with us tonight.
We had actual movie stars. And I had some of my preconceived notions about the movie True Lies totally destroyed that I'm still trying to process through. But boy, was that fun listening to those guys.
Yeah. So, spoiler alert, Arnold Schwarzenegger did not actually steal a Harrier and fly it downtown.
What?
It's horrible.
It's a good story.
Horrible to find that out after all these years. It was a good story.
It was a great story connecting with two of our old squadron mates, and they had a great story to tell. And I enjoyed every second of it.
They did indeed. So no further delay. Here we go. So There I Was, episode 16, True Lies.
So there I was.
Hey, that's how every great aviation tale begins.
That is it. Hey, this is Fig, and I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I am really excited to interview these two guys. Take it away, my co-host, wherever you are in the globe. Repeat.
I think I'm home in New Hampshire tonight. Yeah,
All
thanks,
right.
Fig. Well, this is, again, another broken tradition. This is only the second time we've had two guests on at the same time. This is the True Lies version of So There I Was. We're going to talk to the pilot tonight who actually flew the scenes in the movie True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Arnold, and I think Tia Carrera. So welcome, Bugs, and welcome, Moto. Bugs, where are you tonight?
Hey, Pete. In Virginia, on the good coast, in
Nice.
the humid, hot mid-Atlantic summer.
Nice.
But good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Yeah,
It was
like
great to see you. Got a little fuzzier than the last time I saw you, but it's still great to see you.
There you go.
Moto, where are you coming from?
Hey, hello, guys. Hey, it's awesome to be with you. I am just across the state border from Memphis in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
You guys living down there now? You were living downtown Memphis last I heard.
Yeah, we were downtown, and then we decided to get out of the gunfire range and move to where it was less opportunity to be engaged in combat. So we came across the border in a little community just to the south of Memphis.
Yeah. So, Mo, how'd you wind up flying airplanes?
Me? Well,
Yeah.
let's see. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and out next to the airport there, PDX, there's the Columbia River is right to the north. And we used to go out there once in a while and just watch the airplanes come in and land and take off and stuff. So it kind of piqued my interest a little bit. And then I enlisted in the Marine Corps and went through boot camp and was at home thinking about it, and happened to hear that there was such a thing as an OSO. So I went and saw the OSO and got involved in the PLC, was able to get an aviation guarantee because I had 20/20 vision. And I think that was the only really qualifying factors, that you could breathe and had 20/20 vision.
We know that's not true.
Fog this mirror. Can you see the mirror you're fogging?
Moto, so you enlisted in the Marine Corps. You were in the Marine Corps Reserves?
Correct. Yeah, I was a heavy equipment mechanic, a 1341. It was a reserve battalion there on Swan Island in Portland.
Okay. And you were going to school somewhere around
Yep.
Portland?
Yep, downtown Portland, Oregon, Portland State University.
Nice.
Okay. Commissioning Source PLC.
Correct.
And then, so did you do 2 6-week OCSs?
I did. I did the 2 summers. Yep. Camp Rupture and then over there at Main Side. And
That's the low IQ test. Do you go back a second time?
yeah,
I
I
did.
don't know what I was thinking.
Bugsy, what about you? What was your path?
My path. I enlisted in the Navy. That's a story in and of itself. I went down with every good intention to enlist in our beloved Marine Corps, but the recruiters were out to lunch, and it was kind of a gauntlet to get back there. So the Navy recruiter was leaning up against the door jamb and said, "Well, why waste the trip? Come on in and see what the Navy has to offer." And next thing you know, I'm shipping out. So, but it worked out well. He was a very good salesman. I was an avionics tech in the Navy out of Oceana, VA 75. I worked AIMD on the John F. Kennedy, and we were on Bagel Station soon after the Marine barracks in Beirut was bombed. And during that time, I'd go out to Vultures Row and watch flight ops as often as possible. And really, that's what bit me. I know, Fig, you were going to fly from the time you were a little guy. That wasn't me. I mean, I thought it was neat. Used to go down to the airport, watch planes coming into land and stuff, but never thought that would be me at some point. I got bit when I was on the carrier watching flight ops all the time and getting to know some of the pilots and figuring out that, hey, I could do this too. So applied for a few officer ascension programs. Oddly enough, got Boost, if anyone remembers that.
Oh, yeah.
Vaguely. What was that about?
Broad an opportunity for officer selection and training. So it's really a minority-based program. But I got in, fortunately, and was there for a few weeks. They were standing up a Navy ROTC unit at Memphis State, and they were looking for some folks from the fleet to go help stand it up, and I raised my hand, and I was off to the races. I graduated there, 87?
So you're commissioned to ROTC?
Yeah.
I'll be damned. You know, I don't think I remember that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Memphis State.
And yeah, Echo 87.
Echo.
Great time. Loved it. Right?
Yeah.
Do we have some fun there or what?
We had fun. So Truth in Lending Clause, Bugsy and I were in the same TBS class. That's actually where we met.
Nice.
Bugsy, Ags. Yeah.
And that's how you used to know when we were in Millington. Anytime we went to Millington, you knew how to get down on Beale Street.
That's right.
And over there on G.E. Patterson.
You remember that? Wow. That's pretty good.
And we used to look for that, not for Elvis, but that other fella.
Man, it was a long time ago. I went Marine option, and I was considered myself back on track at that point, and then TBS flight school followed after that.
Hey, Moto, what TBS class were you?
It was hotel company, and it was there I had the great news broken to me that there was a 2-year backlog at flight school.
So that was fall of 84. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a FOC or a hotel company of 84? And
80,
you guys,
it might have been a year later.
85.
No, it was 84 because I was Alpha 185 right behind you guys, and
Okay.
we started in October, and they took Gulf through Bravo and set us aside, and then sent Charlie straight to flight school. Guys who were civilians while we were commissioned lieutenants got right to flight school. We went to the fleet. So
okay, so we know what Repeat did before flight school. What did you do, Moto?
On my hold, I stayed at Quantico and went through basic officer, infantry officer course.
Okay, IOC.
Yeah, I got a 0302 designation there. It means I spent a lot of time out in the bugs. Yeah, spent a lot of time out in the Quantico forest. And then I went to MCRD San Diego and was a series officer there for, I guess it was for just a little over a year. And like a couple of guys and a couple others were also out there helping keep the drill instructors from going to jail.
right. No
Wasn't
kidding.
hey, Repeat, wasn't he at the reunion? Was he there?
I don't remember seeing Woody there. No, I don't.
Okay.
He may have been. If he was, I missed him.
That was a name I hadn't heard in a while. That
Yeah.
kind of rung a bell.
Yeah.
All right.
You must have seen some funny stuff on the grinder though at San Diego, huh?
Yeah, we haven't gone through there a few years prior at being one of the recruits and then going back and being a series officer. It was
Probably surreal.
I like the second time there better.
I was going to say, I was a little less painful the second go around, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Bugs, ROTC Marine option. Did you do like 4 or 5 weeks at Upshur at one point?
No. Went through Bulldog.
Bulldog.
Went through
Okay.
Bulldog.
Yeah. Okay. That's what it was. Well, Moto, what primary squadron and then jet training squadrons did you go through in flight school?
I was through the aviation school in Pensacola, then I was sent to BT-27 in Corpus Christi. When the assignments, we could put in a guess at what we wanted to do, but when the assignments came out, I was sent to Kingsville. And I was down there in
either 21 or 20, 23, 22?
23. Yeah.
Yeah, 23 for T2s and 22 for TA4s.
Correct. I went through. I got to go with the cow. I got to go on a few flights with the cow, the out of control flights.
Was Cal your instructor?
Yes, and landed on the boat out there with did some workups with another good friend, Flair, that I went through all the training with, Greg.
Then God rest his soul.
Then great guy. Then over next squadron or next hangar over into the A4 selection time came, and it was to AV-8s up in Cherry Point.
Out of curiosity, what aircraft carrier did you land on when you were in VT-23 and then VT-22? Do you recall?
Well, I think it was one of the last ones to go on the Lexington.
Hey, Bugs, what about you? Did you land on the Kennedy? Your old flotilla?
I remember the Lex twice. But yeah, VT-6 in Pensacola, VT-26 in Beeville, and 24 A4s in Beeville. It's a great time. I loved the training command. Call me crazy.
Hey, if I'm not mistaken, you met your bride when you were there, did you not?
Indeed. Yep.
So it was a really good training command experience for you.
Here we are 30 years later.
Yeah, weird, right? Beautiful kids and the whole deal.
Yeah,
awesome.
Grandkids.
Holy moly.
Yes.
You're a fan.
That's awesome.
Pete, you were in Beeville, right?
I was, yeah. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I think I got there. I was probably 4 to 6 months behind you guys. That sound about right? I got winged in December '89.
Yeah. Well, you finished up a month after me.
So Moto beat all of us to the rag by a couple years. Moto, what was your VMA T203 rag experience like? Because when we were there, it seemed like the motto was with the Harrier community eats its young and it starts at the rag. Was it that kind of experience?
I didn't quite have that experience because I had been out in the fleet. I mean, I wasn't out in a infantry battalion, but I had been in the Marine Corps for several years. So I was senior.
Yeah, you were
first
captain,
lieutenant.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, senior first lieutenant and right on to about being a captain. And at that point in time, a lot of the other students that were coming in were either like there was transition pilots from other communities, and there was not a shortage, but it was necessary for 203 to be creating a lot of pilots. The fleet squadrons were in need of pilots. I didn't feel like I was getting hazed or anything. It was It was a little less stressful.
Bugs, what was your experience like?
203 was great. Hawk was the skipper, right? I remember Spiko and Chief and Lawman and Bear and Corn, and list goes on, man. There were a good bunch of
guys.
instructors.
Yeah,
a good bunch of instructors. I don't think that mentality really started there. It was a good environment to train in.
And then, so Moto, you were already at 223. I seem to recall when I checked in, were you out on a boat deck already? Were you out on the one with Gangster and Flat Top?
I think that was the Saipan.
Yeah, that's the one Gangster came back with a broken jaw.
Yeah, he had some incident occur where his jaw became
Slipped
fractured.
on a banana in the ready room, did he?
Must have tripped going through one of those hatchways that you had to step over. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Right, Bugs?
That's what we heard. Yeah.
One way to find out. Get him on the show.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to have Gangster on.
So you guys got back from that, and then my other recollection is you went to Spain. I remember that you were out on that one, but you did not do Westpac with us in '92, did you?
That's correct. But yeah, we did the first LHD.
Yeah, the Wasp
10 plane deployment.
Bugs. You were on that too, right?
Yeah, that was.
Yep.
That was a great deployment. We spent most of it shore-based.
Well, that's horrible when you're on a boat deployment, right?
It really was. Yeah. I mean, it was after the first Gulf, new class of ship, out waving the flag. So what, Moto? We spent 3 weeks in Nevatine.
Yeah, I have up on the wall. I got the pictures with the head.
Spent a lot of time in Rota. Spent time in Nîmes, France. I think three weeks there.
Did you guys hit Italy? Did you hit Italy at all in port?
We did.
Oh, it's terrible.
We did.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it was. It really was. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on the boat, but great experience. A lot of good flying.
Nice.
Stuff.
Nice.
We lost an airplane and a pilot on that deployment.
Yeah, that one was sad.
Yeah.
We lost Biscuit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Moto, you were the safety officer.
Yeah, that was the call you don't ever want to get. It was November 11th, 11/11 of 91. It's kind of all these ones added up, but 11/11 of 91 at about 11 o'clock. And we got the call that a section had gone out, relatively new section leader leading, and that one of the planes had impacted the ground, and it was in Villa de la Torre, Spain. And the world comes to a stop. You're like, uh-oh. Then you go back after having been through the schools, like, okay, what's the checklist? What am I supposed to do? You go grab the binder, you notify the Naval Safety Center, go through the little steps, and then all the training and all this checklists start going into effect. And
right, you're running the list. You're doing your job.
Yeah, going through the whole list, and then one of the really, when you lose a squadron mate, it's just a tough time. But then you get out on the scene, and it was strange because it was kind of a lower level impact, but
lower angle, right?
Lower angle. Yeah. Well, yeah, it had to be low level, right?
Yeah. I knew what you meant. I just wanted.
You can only tie the record. Yeah. So lower angle. What it was all the parts from the right hand side of the aircraft were on the left hand side down range, and then all of the left hand side parts were on the right hand side down range, and then the engine in the middle down there. So it just took a little while to realize that it had impacted inverted.
Yeah. Wow.
So the short version of the long story is that there was a binding in the aileron. So when the aircraft started to roll, it was unable to stop the roll and counter it, and it continued to roll. And then that's where it was during a low level flight that there wasn't recovery altitude.
And my recollection was that you really found the needle in the haystack on that. You found some witness marks on the.
We brought back these Gaylord boxes. I don't know if you know what a Gaylord box is, but it's basically a cardboard box that fits on a pallet, like a 4x4 pallet. We brought back as many of those as we could fill up. It had all the parts in it. There was actually a Hornet driver, Lieutenant Colonel, who was the senior member on the board, and he kept going through piece by piece. But we found a couple of pieces that had witness marks on them, and then through analysis of the metals and the location on the aircraft and certain things, it was determined that this one part could be installed either in one position or another, and it had catastrophically been installed incorrectly.
Yeah. It caused the aileron to jam up.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the other one that, as I recall, you interviewed one of the witnesses, and so he basically recovered. He almost impacted the ground and recovered and got it up away from the ground a little bit before he ejected. But your witness story was kind of amazing to me too. Do you remember what that was?
Absolutely. I remember in interviewing this Spanish fellow. and he was able to speak English, but he described an aircraft coming over his head so close to him that he was riding his bicycle that it took the hat off of his head. The wind from the aircraft passing over caused his hat to blow off of his head on his bicycle. On the tail of the aircraft, right below the vertical tail, there's that.
Yeah, it's kind of a skag.
Yeah, that lower portion there. Yeah, that thing. To a lot of people, it's when the aircraft's upright or inverted, and the wings, right, the dihedral, most aircraft have the opposite.
Right.
So all of these factors, when people saw it, they claimed that the thing was right side up, but they were describing it being upside down.
We lost a great Marine there. Got Biscuit. God rest his soul.
That was one. So he was one of 3 of our TBS classmates. Repeat that Bugsy and I had that died flying the Harrier. Actually, I think he was the first. He was the first of the 3.
Yeah. That's right. No, you got to remember that stuff. Got to acknowledge them.
Yes.
It's so
important. It was 30 years this past November.
I keep in touch with Dan, his younger brother, who was a Marine as well, combat engineer, and their dad just passed away recently, and he was just a wonderful gentleman. Dan called and thanked me for keeping in touch with the parents and with him, and kind of keeping Tom's memory alive like we all do.
Yeah.
And says, the worst thing is, a Marine dies twice, when he actually loses his life, and then when people stop thinking about him. So it's so important that we continue this.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's not a time when I tell stories about my aviation career that I don't talk about those 3 guys.
To Biscuit. Well, so one of the reasons we wanted the 2 of you on together was back in 1991. Was it 91 or 92? No, I guess it was 92. We got back from Westpac, right? Right after Westpac.
May or April of 93. You guys went to Key West after that to do the flying. And you can probably narrow it down for me.
What was around Thanksgiving? If I remember correctly.
Thanksgiving of 93?
93, yeah.
Well, you would know.
You would know. You were there, yeah. So you got down there. How'd you get selected? How'd you get?
Yeah. How did the tasking come down?
Yeah. Here's the tasking. Let's clear it up, because any of us could have done it. It was one of those luck of the draw things, being in the right place at the right time. 223 was on the block. Other squadrons were out doing other things, and then it was the guys who had the quals, the LSS, the LSO, things like that, and some hours in the plane. So, Moto certainly had that, and I was fortunate enough to creep in there behind them. So that explains that.
So it had nothing to do with your chiseled good looks and your aviation acumen.
As you well know, they kept us off the camera.
That's coming. We're gonna talk about that later. Let's talk about that later. Okay, so how was it? Were you tasked by the wing? I mean, how did it come down? How was the actual tasking?
So, yeah, Moto may know this part better. What I remember is that we were tasked to go down and do a site survey, and I went down to do that with Guts, the XO at the time. Went down. It was a pull off on A1A, right? It's on the Marathon Key northwest corner on the westbound side.
Yep.
And it was just pavement. So it's like, yeah, if this is where you want to play, it's all going to have to be poured slab to support the Harrier, right? So.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because some people are not going to know what you're talking about. And why did it have to be concrete?
Yeah. So with the vector thrust, if you're doing vertical landings on pavement, it heats it up and tears it up pretty quick. So that's what would happen there. So it was a non-starter. Then you have to have mil-spec pad poured with rebar. And I don't recall how many inches that is, but it's a thick pour.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And they did it. They did it. I mean, came back obviously, and that whole thing was concrete.
No way.
Pretty impressive.
I wonder who paid for that. Was it the movie, or was it?
I'm thinking it wasn't the Marine Corps.
It wasn't the Marine Corps, yeah. Or was it, yeah, the government down there? Who knows? I would guess it was the movie, to be honest with you. I think concrete was probably a little cheaper by the yard back then.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, when you went for the site survey, did you fly airplanes down, or did you go down commercial, or how'd that work?
So Guts had, his private license, as we all did, but he wanted to fly down in a little Cessna, so we did that.
You guys rented a little plane and flew down from North Carolina.
Yeah. Because Guts wasn't a small guy, and you can imagine how we're sandwiched in there side by side. And anyways,
awesome.
we made it. Yeah,
That's
we
awesome.
made it down and did the survey and came back, and they did everything that we'd asked of them. The rest is history now.
Okay, so they fixed the concrete, and from the time you did the site survey, when did you guys actually, fly airplanes to Key West and fly profiles and all that? How did that work?
Yeah, had to be 6 months, I would guess. And Moto, if I'm gumming this up, please jump in. But I know that Asia and I flew down initially. He actually let me do the first landing there. I came in and there was absolutely no visual cues. I mean, you had on the south side of the highway, you had high tension lines and just no visual cues on the north side. There's a pretty sharp drop off with large boulders, like a jetty there, or a seawall protecting the parking lot itself. And so we came in, we did a break, left downwind, which was north of the site, and flew the profile in, and I got low and just spotted the heck out of the parking lot, just boogered it up. So
Blew a bunch of rocks.
Moto, I think you were down there. You were the LSS, and waved me off. Asia came in and swept it out, took back off, and he let me come back around and be the first one to land again. And fortunately, I didn't booger it up that time.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So LSS, landing site supervisor, he's the guy on the ground helping make the call to
Motos
get you
was
in the right
paddles.
place. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, paddles. You guys parked airplanes down there. You flew how many airplanes down there to get two for the movie flying in the scenes? How many airplanes were there? 2? 4? How many did you guys take? 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Moto's holding up 4 fingers.
Yeah, Moto needs to jump in here. His memory's better.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember we had to have several with the number 16, on the nose, because that was when they created the mock-up, the model that was used in the film. It was like the remnants of a day attack aircraft out of Yuma that they built a full-scale model of, and so we had to have the one. I remember the one Bugs was landing in had the 16 on the side, and he landed and pulled up, turned the exhaust so that the second aircraft coming in wouldn't ingest it and would have some clean air to create power with. And then realized Jamie Lee Curtis was standing over there, so started giving me a couple of little inquiries of what's going on and who's that and
Nice.
what's happening.
Was he standing by you when you were waving him in?
They were all kind of right over behind me. The first landing and stuff, we just did it as practice before they had all the set up and the crane with the model and all that stuff there. Right. We did FOD walks before landings. So
because they wouldn't, as my recollection is, they wouldn't let any of the anybody who wasn't ejection seat qualified even sit in our airplanes. So the movie company built a duplicate Harrier, sans engine, obviously, but so that he could get in there. And you talked about the crane. Actually, it hovered by being picked up by a crane for the with a green screen, I assume, for all the scenes that they did that in.
Exactly. There were cables attached to the strong points where normally the wing is lifted off of the Aviate. So they, like for engine maintenance, if it has to be replaced, the wing comes off, the whole, it's one piece, and then it has attachment points for that. That's where basically the crane was attached. And then through the digital mastery that they have, they just erased those cable lines when they pick the aircraft up.
So I think I misunderstood here. I'm a little shocked right now because I've seen that movie multiple times. So what you're telling me is, maybe I'm wrong, but what you're telling me is Arnold Schwarzenegger really didn't fly one of those Harriers. Is that right? Because I'm a little shocked right now. He didn't fly it.
Yeah, believe it or not, even though they claimed he had years of experience in the aircraft. I mean, that was a classic Tasker takeoff when he crushed the police car.
He is a little rusty right now, but that's a trademark Tasker takeoff. I gotta be honest with you. It's like riding a bike. You never forget, really. We might want to seek shelter.
Yeah, that was done by some guy on a crane, picking the model up.
Okay.
Nice.
So I haven't seen the movie in a few years, but I do know that the flying scenes part of the your guys, the part you flew, you do some, you blew up bridges, you strafed this van with a bunch of bad guys in it, and then so you landed, and then or maybe you did that first and then you landed because there was an atomic explosion that was about to happen, right? And then there was an atomic explosion, and then the next thing you know, Arnold jumps in your jet and takes off, and then he goes to, I think, Miami to save his daughter.
Miami,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So I was shocked because I thought, wow, this is awesome. These guys are getting to blow up the bridge and they're getting to strafe these trucks and stuff. Tell me how many bridges you actually blew up and how many trucks got strafed.
That would be none and zero.
So you guys weren't actually shooting anything. It was
You
all
didn't get to shoot
computer
Zuni
generated.
rockets at the bridge?
What?
I know.
That was a laser
the
Maverick
7-mile
for
bridge.
crying out loud.
All sleight of hand.
We did captive carry some ordnance that was on the aircraft that we basically were just asked to do like a breakaway. They had a Learjet flying behind us and some cameras on the bridge, and the Learjet was flying behind us. What were we doing, Bugs? Well, 260.
That's it?
Yeah, we had to keep it.
The camera plane wouldn't have been able to keep up, so they
Citation, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no wonder it was slow.
Yeah.
yeah.
So replace the airspeed indicator in a citation with a calendar, and you got it.
So Bugs, for the non attack people that are listening, what would be a normal speed for say a weapons delivery or a laser Maverick shot or strafing if you're doing that? What would be normal?
IP to target runs 480 is what we planned, right? But
yeah.
You want to be going with as much Q as possible.
Yeah. So you guys were way slower than you would normally be.
Way slow, and it's I think Moto, I think Asia did that big brake turn because he was concerned it was a slow speed. So he did the risky stuff.
He had a lot of hours. He was very skilled. So
as a CO, that he certainly, as he should have. So he did that. He certainly did landing there, and then he did the scene over at the building in Miami, the approach to that building. And
that was an actual airplane that flew into the downtown area.
Yeah, he flew that in
Biscayne Bay, right?
Yeah, and then it picked up with the tethered one, I think, obviously, when they had the people hanging off the wings and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one mastered yet. But then, Moto and I did all the other vanilla stuff, I'll call it. And then I think, did Biff come down and fly some of that too?
I don't recall what part he was involved with.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the vertical landing site for all of that. So any flying that was done outside of or during that time, I'm not sure what the schedule was, but I think he was there primarily to be available for, like if anybody got sick or had med down for any reason, he was the backup.
So, Moto, did you get to fly at all, or were you paddles the entire time?
Yeah, I did. I
Okay.
did get to do a little bit of flying. The initial scene where the helicopter looks out and we do a section pass below the helicopter there, that one Bugs and I did. The truck that got strafed, and then one of the two that did the bridge with the Mavericks. And then otherwise, I was it's Monroe County down there.
Monroe County.
I was in a Monroe County Sheriff's outfit with my PRC radio down there, so that if I were to happen to get in the scene, that I wouldn't be standing there in a flight suit. I was a Monroe County Sheriff.
Okay.
Right.
There you go. Nice.
Now, did you have to fill out a Screen Actors Guild card for that scene, or were you just considered an extra at that point? And do you get royalties?
We got some per diem, and we got like over Thanksgiving. This was also a kind of a neat thing. All of our crew, which were like spectacular guys, all the crew got commercial. It was a chartered flight. They got chartered down to Key West. They got put up in a hotel. If they wanted to go home over Thanksgiving, they flew them back to Cherry Point, and then they brought them back for filming afterwards.
Wow.
Those who wanted to stay stayed. There was per diem. Granted, it wasn't, you couldn't retire on it, but there was a couple of good little gigs on top of the flying. It was comfortable.
Okay, it probably paid more than Marine Corps per diem a day. I'm assuming. Maybe.
Nobody got rich out of there.
Well, nobody got rich, but I mean, like for the Marines that went down, the maintainers and everybody that needed to support it, it probably was a pretty nice deal for them. So, can you give us a time frame from the time you got down there until the time they said, "Okay, you're done," and you packed all your gear and went home? How long was that for that? I don't know. There was probably 4 or 5 minutes of film, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I mean, we're there at least 3 weeks, right, Moto?
It was less than a month, but it was great. It was over the Thanksgiving break, so it was more than a couple of weeks.
Wow. Okay.
And I don't remember being given the option to go home for Thanksgiving either.
Yeah, well, not for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
because somebody's got to hear this.
That's what I heard. Wait, that's what I heard. I may have misspoken.
So there's a kind of a side story I want to talk about here. And it's kind of strange how I got this information, but flash forward a decade from the time that movie came out. Well, I don't know when it came out, but flash forward a decade from the time you guys went down and did all that stuff. As life has it, I meet, at the time, he's a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps Reserves in Kansas City. And we had a connection because he and my wife went to the same high school. He was a couple of years behind, but he knew her, and he had some brothers. And so we struck up this conversation. And then when he found out that I was a Harrier pilot, he said, "Oh, well,
I was a Harrier pilot too for 4 minutes."
And he tells me this story, and my jaw was hanging down. It was on the ground. And the next drill weekend, he brings me a 8x10 black and white picture of him and Arnold. Now he's wearing full flight gear, and on his name tag, it's your name tag, Bugs.
Yeah.
It's your name tag on his flights. And he's the guy in the movie that is you. He is you in the movie.
The other guy had Moto's tag on.
So how did that come about? Yeah. And why did they not use you? Because you are one handsome devil. I don't understand. I just don't understand.
You may have just hit on the answer yourself right there.
He was too handsome. He didn't want him upstaging Arnold. That's all.
This guy that I'm talking about is probably 6'2".
Yeah, no, we met him, Fig.
And he's but how did he get there?
So here's what happened. And Moto, obviously, check me if I'm wrong, but they bought in a couple of reserve Marines from Miami, might have been West Palm Beach, to stand in as the pilots because we had a change of command coming up. Duck was going to take the squadron from Asia,
Yeah.
And they wanted the planes back so they can get them, ready to go, and wanted us all back as well. So didn't want us loitering down there for another week. So they went and picked up a couple of reserve Marines and put them in a bag and gave them our name tags, and the rest is history. Now, if you remember, we had the special showing in Havelock.
I don't
They
remember.
showed the Marine.
No,
Okay.
I don't remember.
They bought the squadron in Mo. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened? They
They're
to the end of the movie.
Yeah, everybody's like, "Who the hell was that?" Yeah. Even in the aircraft, any communication from the
No, it wasn't you guys, was it?
they were all with face shield and covered. No, they didn't use any of our likenesses because if they needed to recreate something, we weren't going to be available.
Yeah, I noticed it was the wrong helmets, the wrong oxygen mask. Nobody's voices sounded right. Now they had the call sign right.
Yeah, the crappy call sign line.
The crappy call sign
right.
that we inherited when we came back from Westpac.
Right.
But I was shocked and disappointed at the same time. But I never knew how that came about. So now I know.
That was it, man.
Well,
Now
it should have been you, bro. It should have been you.
Everybody got a piece of it, man. We all had a good time. It was great opportunity, and like I said, just right place at the right time. Actually, I got a great story real quick to interject along those lines. So we had pictures years later. I'm trying to find these pictures and I can't find them.
When you say you took pictures with the cast and that sort of thing, or?
Yeah, had a lot of good pictures with the cast and stuff. I think Moto and I had all the same ones. In my previous job, I was talking to one of the guys about it. He was a former Marine as well. It's like, my wife said the pictures are lost. She took them to work one day and they were stolen or something. And this guy looks at me, Jim, he looks at me and he goes, "Are you serious? She threw those out." And he caught me by surprise. I look back at him, I'm like, son of back home to
Was he right?
Back home. Listen, I said, you know what? I think you've been holding on to the truth here for a number of years. And boy, did she get pissed off. She stayed up that whole night and found those pictures. She actually found the negatives. She didn't find the pictures. Okay. Sure enough, they were gone. She found the negatives, went out and got them reprinted.
Awesome.
And threw them at me.
That's why you wear an eye patch to this day.
So what were the pictures involved? What was it? You with the cast? What kind of pictures?
Yeah, there was some pictures. Moto and I and some of the other Marines got to spend the day out on a boat watching when they filmed the scene with the limo.
Yeah.
They ran that all day to get that one shot where the limo ran off the end of the bridge there, and the stunt double was pulled out of the
stunt double.
Out of the
you mean it wasn't Jamie Lee Curtis?
It was not. She was with us the whole time.
See? Oh, she was on the boat with you guys?
Yeah, she was.
Hoot.
Yeah,
that is a hoot.
She was a good egg. Yeah.
So who were the poor saps that had to ride the limousine into the water? Because that's probably not a good job to have.
Don't remember them.
Well, how cool is that? So besides being on the boat for a day and hanging out with Hollywood actors, how did they treat you? Did they treat you guys pretty good? Were they good people?
The director of that movie was so familiar with a lot of the capabilities and a lot of the what he wanted to have done. He had storyboards. When we went to briefings, we briefed our NATOPs, we briefed our safety procedures and the stuff that we do, SOP things. But as far as what we were going to accomplish on the flight, he had that mapped out to the second. He had everything ready for us. It was just a knee board. You're going to fly. You're going to fly from this point to this point at this time at this speed, and we want to get a picture from the helicopter of you, flying past. We want one of you landing. I remember saying specifically, I've never seen a scene where someone's recorded a Harrier landing from above it, and I want that.
Wow!
And he set the helicopter up at the landing pad and did it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So all of the scenes, how they were going to play out were were really well coordinated and planned ahead of time. We just had to listen up and do what we normally do, and then follow the flight planning that they had done.
That's pretty awesome. I wonder if he had an aviation consultant that helped him, map that out. Bugsy, how do people treat you?
Very well.
What are your thoughts? I mean,
no, it's good. I mean, we're
all the Marines, all the support guys, everybody treats you good.
They love the Marines, big. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Who doesn't love Marines? I mean, who doesn't love Marines?
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Marines? It was an e-ticket ride from the time we got there till the time we left.
That's
for sure. Yeah, it was a good experience.
Bugs, do you remember that Billy Lucas?
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
stunt coordinator?
Yes.
So
yes.
Here's this guy, just the greatest, most calm guy, very physically fit, just smart as a whip. And here they make silicone jaw lines and things that look like Arnold. And there are scenes in the movie that we can watch and see, like when the horse is riding through the fountain and some of these other things. That's Billy Lucas on that horse. That's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he's sliding through the snow, shooting the guns at the terrorists that are chasing him in the opening scenes and stuff. That's Billy Lucas. And this guy took that Corvette, the convertible.
Yeah.
We were down there. We were in the parking lot. We had to go watch him 14 times. They wet the blacktop a little bit so it'd slide, but he turned the car. They were the ones that really drove the car and made it to the parking in between the other cars there.
So that wasn't Bill Paxton doing that? Damn it! You guys are crushing my whole soul right now. I thought
those guys did it.
Wired.
They were cool. So yeah.
So that was probably really a neat experience to see, how that all comes together. Because we would know otherwise it never have any insight into how you make a movie scene, especially a dynamic one like flying a Harrier onto a road or parking a Corvette, sliding a Corvette in between two cars.
Have stunt doubles.
Yeah, and the remarkable point you already hit on is that it took three plus weeks of ops to capture what may be some total of a minute or so of flying time in the actual movie.
And then you wonder why it cost so much to make a movie.
Yeah,
right.
And exactly. There you go. Right.
Exactly.
What a great experience. That's pretty awesome, and thanks for you guys for sharing that. So now we got the true story of True Lies, so to speak, right?
We talked briefly about the crappy call sign for the squadron, so I want to touch on that, and then I want to finish up with you guys, how you got your call signs. We were the Bulldogs, and so we went around the world, Dog 1, 2, 3, Dog 14.
Yeah, it was your
That
rock.
was our call sign, Dog. And so we're over in Westpac, and they split up VMAQ 4, VMAQ 2 was the one EA6B squadron, and they split them into 4 squadrons. And I think it was Q3 became the Moondoggies, and they went down and registered as Dog. And we had never registered our call sign as Dog. And back in the 1950s or 40s, our squadron call sign was Lime. So that's what you hear in the movie, Lime 3 in hot. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How stupid is that call sign? Dog is cool. Lime not so cool.
Horrible.
So we got hosed with a terrible call sign for the squadron when we got back from Westpac in '92. It was horrible.
I think Duck changed that.
Good.
If I recall correctly. Modi, you might be able to confirm to maybe Stone. The other one he entertained was Righteous, and I think he might have put it to a vote, and Stone won. So Stone's better than Lime.
Every single day.
Every day.
If he'd had any stones, he'd have done Big Beaver. But that was another episode.
Big Beaver's up and ready. So call signs. Moto. What is Moto? MOTO. I mean, I know what it is, but tell us how that came about and what it means.
Yeah. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's master of the obvious," right? He's Moto. He's master of the obvious, but it's not. Didn't quite come out that way. I was in Kingsville just after primary, and I was with Flair. We roomed right next to each other, and we used to do PT in the morning and go, do studying and talk through procedures and different things. And sometimes when something would happen, we'd just say, well, that's pretty moto, rather than saying that's pretty cool. It just was kind of a word. And then he just started calling me that. And it was just out of kind of a pattern of speech that Flair dubbed me Moto.
Okay, there you go.
The rest is history.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Flair was a great guy. I went through TBS with him. He's the first guy I met at TBS. He was just one of those guys. Moto, tell me if I'm lying. You walk into a restaurant, you walk into an ice cream shop or anything, and here's one night in Corpus Christi, my wife and I and Flair walk into a Baskin Robbins. We each come out with an ice cream cone. He comes out with an ice cream cone and a phone number on a napkin. Women threw themselves at this man. It was the most amazing thing in the world. Oh, here's my phone number. Call me. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah.
You speak of the truth.
Yeah, we lost him about 12 or 13 years ago. He died of a pulmonary embolism in his sleep. For great shape, shouldn't have happened, but
Yep. OV-10 hero in the war. Yep.
Yeah. Flew OV-10s in the Gulf War. So anyway, all right. So more happy stuff, and with that,
Bugs.
How'd you wind up with the call sign?
Yeah, how'd that happen?
So in VT-24, my Marine on wing was Skivvies, first name Rod. Real good guy. And he looked at me and looked across the table at me. He says, you look like an escaped convict. I'm going to call you Bugsy. And the rest is history.
Okay.
Nice. And he's not lying. You do look like an escaped convict.
Well, and we can see you. So for the people that can't, let's he's a good looking guy, but he's Bugs. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You could shave at 6 a.m, and by noon you'd need to shave again.
I shaved yesterday morning. And
I always thought, the gangster character from Bugs Bunny. Shut up. He always had a shadow and a jawline kind of like yours. And I thought, okay, that fits.
That's it.
Bugs.
I think that's what Skivvies was thinking the same thing.
Oh, I think that's spot on.
Beautiful.
Almost lost it at 223 though when I got there. It was already a Bugs. If you recall, Moto knows. There was already a Bugs there.
Was there?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Okay, because I know we had some kangaroo courts where guys were reassigned their permanent call signs.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for sharing your story because that was awesome. Now I'm going to tell you it's going to take me several days to process through some of the stuff I just learned because I was certain Arnold Schwarzenegger flew the Harrier.
Yeah, it's just not right.
I know.
Kind of like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
What?
Oh,
What
no,
about Santa
don't even
Claus?
say that.
What do you say? What do you say? Hold on. What?
I just said Thanksgiving, and you went all the way to Christmas, man.
Oh, man.
I got a lot of process now. I got a lot. Thanks
I'm
a
never
lot,
gonna
Bugs.
sleep
Good times,
right again.
fellas.
Yeah, indeed. So, gents, proud to call you Marine brothers. Proud to call you fellow Naval Aviator brothers. Thank you. Thanks for coming on, spending time with us, sharing this. Absolutely a blast to catch up with you. Anybody has any questions, you want to write to us at fig at sothereiwas.us or repeat at sothereiwas.us. Find us on Facebook at sothereiwas.us/Facebook or sothereiwas.us/Twitter for the Twitter account. Love to have your feedback. If you would do us the kind favor of going on and giving us a 5-star rating, put in any comments. We'd appreciate that as well. In the meantime, gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service to the country. And check 6.
5 boys.
Excuse me, Captain. Can I borrow your plane for a minute, okay?
Sir, and listen, Forcecom, they cleared you to give us total cooperation, am I right? Yes, sir. And you know that comes directly from the President of the United States, Captain?
Sir, you're going to have to sign for this aircraft.
Oh, I'll sign for it. You got a pen? He's got one. You take care of it, would you?
You're fired.